how to integrate phakic lenses into your practice. Okay, so I'll try to, this could be a 1 hour talk, it could be a 2 hour talk, but I'll try to condense it into these 5-6 minutes that I have. So I'm not going to go into the details of how to do this surgery, but how to think that you want to do this, how to add this potentially to a cataract surgeon's practice. So who is a candidate? I think anyone whose age is over 21 years and less. So why should you be adding phakic lenses to your practice? Because if you don't have a LASIK machine and you don't have access to one, and you still want to do some kind of refractive surgery beyond being a refractive cataract surgeon, this is the natural next step. So age over 21 years and less than 45, a stable refraction as for any other refractive surgery. And today, with with phakic lenses available from all kinds, you have all refractive errors which can be corrected, even from the smallest to the biggest. Usually they cut off at about 18 to 20 diopters of myopia. And this is the range which is available with star ICL going from +10 to -20 approximately. IPCLs can be customized for much higher powers. And believe me, the Indian lenses are pretty good. There are now several companies which are making them, and I have been using all of them. They're also doing quite well. So if your patient cannot afford a very expensive star ICL, although they still have the longest follow-ups and the most best kind of predictability, but you could have phakic lenses sizes, the sizes are available as well. I won't go into the details. So when you start thinking of putting a patient, if you don't have an excimer and you want to put a phakic lens for a patient, you would be looking at good refraction, a good pachymetry, AC depth, PRS, peripheral retina screening, and a good gonioscopy with a wide to wide. Now, an AC depth of 3 millimeters, suppose from the endothelium. Now, this is the important thing. It has to be from the endothelium. So if you are measuring on an A scan, you would have to subtract the pachymetry from that, and that would give you the anterior chamber depth without the corneal thickness, and that should be ideally 3. If you have a compromised thickness or depth of the chamber, a 2.9 or at the most a 2.8. Now, for experienced surgeons who have other parameters are all good, you would have to look at 2.8 as the final cutoff. And then, of course, angles should be open. A gonioscopy has now become standard procedure for all patients undergoing a phakic lens, and no previous ophthalmic surgery, especially a corneal refractive surgery, and other ocular pathologies like keratoconus, where you could use it, but only as a special case where for a stable keratoconus, well corrected with glasses, you would avoid eyes with glaucoma, Fuchs dystrophy, other corneal pathologies, endothelial pathologies. Contraindications, we just spoke about a few. Inflammatory disease, glaucoma are probably the ones which are most important, and then a shallow chamber, so that these things would be absolutely a no-no. One-eyed patients, you should be very careful. And sometimes you have patients like these with high myopia who might have zonular abnormalities, and they may have lens subluxations and unstable refractions. There are off-label indications following refractive surgery. It can be done as a top-up procedure for enhancement. It can be done after corneal procedures in keratoconus. Very rarely, some people have published on children for anisometropia. And yes, today people are using these for pseudophakia as piggyback lenses as well. So I think we just discussed about the preoperative assessment and indications. For the first 20 cases, it's best to take ideal cases. So ideal cases would be these which we just spoke about. And once you are looking at the anterior chamber depth, let's just not look at the number which comes out of the A scan. It would be good if you have 2 devices to do it, preferably an optical biometer would be ideal. And then it's not just the central thickness, which is measured in the center. You should be looking at the profile, because sometimes as the chamber goes to the periphery, the AC depth may vary and may be thinner than otherwise. And here I wanted to show you with this printout that it may show you an AC depth of 3.06 on the A scan. Now, this is not the AC depth which is from the endothelium, it's from the epithelium, and you would have to subtract the corneal thickness from here. On optical biometers, it is available seamlessly because this is from the Lenstar. So investing in an optical biometer for a good cataract surgeon would be invaluable, because it allows you to get all these measurements, including the wide to wide. And these wide to wides, which are automated, are not very reliable for ICL calculation, but you can manually check them on almost all devices, including the Lenstar and the Pentacam. They are much more reliable when you do a manual check on them with the calipers. So on the Lenstar printout, you will have an AD, which is the internal AC depth from the endothelium, and you will have an ACD, which includes the corneal thickness. So you can see 2.43 and 2.97 because it's adding on the corneal thickness there. And of course, when you start doing wide to wide measurements, nothing better than doing it with calipers and digital calipers. And I'd like to do that on the slit lamp, and the horizontal wide to wide is the one which you're looking out for. And this usually coincides for me with my Pentacam. And with the Pentacam, there is a horizontal wide to wide which can be easily measured. on the holiday report and also on the iris image. So if you have Pentacam, you can do that. If you visit some place which has a Pentacam, it's very easy. And when you have 2 or 3 devices, kind of correlating and giving you those readings as matching, that becomes ideal. So we already discussed about the angles that they should be open. White to white can be done on so many devices. So many people have autorefs, which also allow you to measure white to white. And the OpsScan is another good device where they have kind of tried to, manually you have to measure it, not with the automated reading. The Pentacam, as I already told you, the Lensta. And why this is important is because the ICL vault is the key to a good surgery, a successful surgery. So if you don't have a vault which is somewhere between 250 to 700 microns, you will have problems. A very low vault can be a problem. A very high vault can cause glaucoma and other issues. So you have to avoid those. That is why it is so important to have the right preoperative measurements. Now, this is a small video on how it shows that the Pentacam can be used. And on the iris image, you can get a manual measurement from, say, here. You can drag it to here, and this gives you the thickness, the white to white. And you can also check this on another scan. I think over here, this is the horizontal white to white on this holiday report, which is 11.5, and then the eCare report has it as well. So anyway, you have many lenses available. You can calculate them. I won't show you this because it's beyond the scope of this talk. So the take-home message, I think adding phakic lenses to a cataract surgeon's practice is the natural next step. It helps transition to refractive surgery without big investments, and sitting in your clinic, you can easily start offering phakic lenses. They are available for small powers to big powers now. I often do ICL for patients with -2 or 3 with thin corneas, suspect corneas, and it works really well. Satisfactions are great. And a future edition of laser refractive surgery becomes much easier. And a mindset for refractive surgery and attention to detail is all that is required. And that would take you through. And I think with that, I'll